Section 19 of The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy by Hannah Glasse. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 9, Part 1. For Lent, or a Fast Dinner. A number of good dishes, which you may make use of for a table at any other time. A Pease Soup. Boil a quart of split peas in a gallon of water. When they are quite soft, put in half a red herring or 2 anchovies, a good deal of whole pepper, black and white, 2 or 3 blades of mace, 4 or 5 cloves, a bundle of sweet herbs, a large onion, and the green tops of a bunch of celery, a good bundle of dried mint. Cover them close and let them boil softly till there is about 2 quarts. Then strain it off and have ready the white part of the celery washed clean and cut small, and stewed tender in a quart of water. Some spinach picked and washed clean, put to the celery. Let them stew till the water is quite wasted, and put it to your soup. Take a French roll, take out the crumb, fry the crust brown in a little fresh butter. Take some spinach, stew it in a little butter after it is boiled, and fill the roll. Take the crumb, cut it in pieces, beat it in a mortar with a raw egg, a little spinach, and a little sorrel, a little beaten mace, a little nutmeg, and an anchovy. Then mix it up with your hand and roll them into balls with a little flour, and cut some bread into dice and fry them crisp. Pour your soup into your dish, put in the balls and bread, and the roll in the middle. Garnish your dish with spinach. If it wants salt, you must season it to your palate. Rub in some dried mint. A Green Pease Soup. Take a quart of old green peas, and boil them till they are quite tender as pap, in a quart of water. Then strain them through a sieve, and boil a quart of the young peas in that water. In the meantime, put the old peas into a sieve, pour half a pound of melted butter over them, and strain them through the sieve with the back of a spoon, till you have got all the pulp. When the young peas are boiled enough, add the pulp and butter to the young peas and liquor. Stir them together till they are smooth, and season with pepper and salt. You may fry a French roll and let it swim in the dish. If you like it, boil a bundle of mint in the peas. Another Green Pease Soup. Take a quart of green peas, boil them in a gallon of water with a bundle of mint and a few sweet herbs, mace, cloves, and whole pepper, till they are tender. Then strain them, liquor and all, through a coarse sieve till the pulp is strained. Put this liquor into a saucepan, put to it 4 heads of celery clean washed and cut small, a handful of spinach clean washed and cut small, a lettuce cut small, a fine leek cut small, a quart of green peas, a little salt. Cover them and let them boil very softly till there is about 2 quarts, and that the celery is tender. Then send it to table. Just before you send up your soup, put in half a pint of spinach juice into it, but don't let it boil after. Soup Meagre. Take half a pound of butter, put it into a deep stew pan, shake it about, and let it stand till it is done making a noise. Then have ready 6 middling onions peeled and cut small. Throw them in and shake them about. Take a bunch of celery clean washed and picked. Cut it in pieces half as long as your finger. A large handful of spinach, clean washed and picked, a good lettuce, clean washed, if you have it, and cut small, a little bundle of parsley, chopped fine. Shake all this well together in the pan for a quarter of an hour, then shake in a little flour. Stir all together, and pour into the stew pan 2 quarts of boiling water. Take a handful of dry hard crust, Throw in a teaspoonful of beaten pepper, 3 blades of mace beat fine. Stir all together and let it boil softly for half an hour. Then take it off the fire and beat up the yolks of 2 eggs and stir in, and 1 spoonful of vinegar. Pour it into the soup dish and send it to table. If you have any green peas, boil half a pint in the soup for a change. To make an onion soup. Take half a pound of butter, put it into a stew pan on the fire, let it all melt and boil it till it has done making any noise. Then have ready 10 or a dozen middling onions, peeled and cut small. Throw them into the butter and let them fry a quarter of an hour. Then shake in a little flour and stir them round. Shake your pan and let them do a few minutes longer. Then pour in a quart or 3 pints of boiling water. Stir them round. Take a good piece of upper crust, the stalest bread you have, about as big as the top of a penny loaf cut small, and throw it in. Season with salt to your palate. Let it boil 10 minutes, stirring it often. Then take it off the fire and have ready the yolks of 2 eggs beat fine, with half a spoonful of vinegar. Mix some of the soup with them, then stir it into your soup and mix it well, and pour it into your dish. This is a delicious dish. To make an eel soup. Take eels according to the quantity of soup you would make. A pound of eels will make a pint of good soup. So to every pound of eels put a quart of water, a crust of bread, 2 or 3 blades of mace, a little whole pepper, an onion, and a bundle of sweet herbs. Cover them close and let them boil till half the liquor is wasted. Then strain it and toast some bread. Cut it small, lay the bread into the dish, and pour in your soup. If you have a stew hole, set the dish over it for a minute and send it to table. If you find your soup not rich enough, you must let it boil till it is as strong as you would have it. You may make this soup as rich and good as if it was meat. You may add a piece of carrot to brown it. To make a crawfish soup. Take a carp, a large eel, half a thornback, cleanse and wash them clean. Put them into a saucepan or little pot. Put to them a gallon of water, the crust of a penny loaf. Skim them well, season it with mace, cloves, whole pepper, black and white, an onion, a bundle of sweet herbs, some parsley, a piece of ginger. Let them boil by themselves close covered. Then take the tails of 100 crawfish. Pick out the bag and all the woolly parts that are about them. Put them into a saucepan with 2 quarts of water, a little salt, a bundle of sweet herbs. Let them stew softly, and when they are ready to boil, take out the tails and beat all the other part of the crawfish with the shells, and boil in the liquor the tails you took out with a blade of mace till it comes to about a pint. Strain it through a clean sieve and add it to the fish a-boiling. Let all boil softly till there is about 3 quarts. Then strain it off through a coarse sieve. Put it into your pot again, and if it wants salt, you must put some in, and the tails of the crawfish. Beat the live spawn of a hen lobster very fine, and put in, to give it colour. Take a French roll and fry it crisp, and add to it. Let them stew all together for a quarter of an hour. You may stew a carp with them. Pour your soup into your dish, the roll swimming in the middle. When you have a carp, there should be a roll on each side. Garnish the dish with crawfish. If your crawfish will not lie on the sides of your dish, make a little paste and lay round the rim, and lay the fish on that all round the dish. Take care that your soup be well seasoned, but not too high. To make a mussel soup. Get 100 of mussels, wash them very clean, put them into a stew pan, cover them close. Let them stew till they open, then pick them out of their shells, strain the liquor through a fine lawn sieve to your mussels, and pick the beard or crab out, if any. Take a dozen crawfish, beat them to mash, with a dozen of almonds blanched and beat fine. Then take a small parsnip and a carrot scraped, and cut in thin slices, fry them brown with a little butter. Then take 2 pounds of any fresh fish, and boil in a gallon of water, with a bundle of sweet herbs, a large onion stuck with cloves, whole pepper, black and white, a little parsley, a little piece of horseradish, and salt the mussel liquor, the crawfish and almonds. Let them boil till half is wasted, then strain them through a sieve, put the soup into a saucepan. Put in 20 of the mussels, a few mushrooms, and truffles cut small, and a leek washed and cut very small. Take 2 French rolls, take out the crumb, fry it brown. Cut it into little pieces. Put it into the soup. Let it boil all together for 1/4 of an hour with the fried carrot and parsnip. In the meanwhile, take the crust of the rolls fried crisp. Take 1/2 of the mussels, 1/4 of a pound of butter, a spoonful of water, shake in a little flour, set them on the fire, keeping the saucepan shaking all the time till the butter is melted. Season it with pepper and salt, beat the yolks of 3 eggs, put them in, stir them all the time for fear of curdling, grate a little nutmeg. When it is thick and fine, fill the rolls, pour your soup into the dish, put in the rolls, and lay the rest of the mussels round the rim of the dish. To make a skate or thornback soup. Take 2 pounds of skate or thornback, skin it and boil it in 6 quarts of water. When it is enough, take it up, pick off the flesh, and lay it by. Put in the bones again, and about 2 pounds of any fresh fish, a very little piece of lemon peel, a bundle of sweet herbs, whole pepper, 2 or 3 blades of mace, a little piece of horseradish, the crust of a penny loaf, a little parsley. Cover it close and let it boil till there is about 2 quarts. Then strain it off and add an ounce of vermicelli. Set it on the fire and let it boil softly. In the meantime, take a French roll, cut a little hole in the top, take out the crumb, fry the crust brown in butter. Take the flesh off the fish you laid by, cut it into little pieces, put it into a saucepan with 2 or 3 spoonfuls of the soup. Shake in a little flour, put in a piece of butter, a little pepper and salt. Shake them together in the saucepan over the fire till it is quite thick. Then fill the roll with it. Pour your soup into your dish, let the roll swim in the middle, and send it to table. To make an oyster soup. Your stock must be made of any sort of fish the place affords. Let there be about 2 quarts. Take a pint of oysters, beard them, put them into a saucepan, strain the liquor, let them stew 2 or 3 minutes in their own liquor. Then take the hard parts of the oyster and beat them in a mortar with the yolks of 4 hard eggs. Mix them with some of the soup. Put them with the other part of the oysters and liquor into a saucepan, a little nutmeg, pepper and salt. Stir them well together and let it boil 1/4 of an hour. Dish it up and send it to table. To make an almond soup. Take a quart of almonds, blanch them, and beat them in a marble mortar with the yolks of 12 hard eggs till they are a fine paste. Mix them by degrees with 2 quarts of new milk, a quart of cream, 1/4 of a pound of double refined sugar beat fine. Stir all well together. When it is well mixed, set it over a slow fire, and keep it stirring quick all the while, till you find it is thick enough. Then pour it into your dish and send it to table. If you be not very careful, it will curdle. To make a rice soup. Take 2 quarts of water, a pound of rice, a little cinnamon, cover it close and let it simmer very softly till the rice is quite tender. Take out the cinnamon, then sweeten it to your palate, grate half a nutmeg and let it stand till it is cold. Then beat up the yolks of 3 eggs with half a pint of white wine, mix them very well, then stir them into the rice, set them on a slow fire, and keep stirring all the time for fear of curdling. When it is of a good thickness and boils, take it up. Keep stirring it till you put it into your dish. To make a barley soup. Take a gallon of water, half a pound of barley, a blade or 2 of mace, a large crust of bread, a little lemon peel. Let it boil till it comes to 2 quarts. Then add half a pint of white wine and sweeten to your palate. To make a turnip soup. Take a gallon of water and a bunch of turnips, pare them, save 3 or 4 out, put the rest into the water with half an ounce of whole pepper, an onion stuck with cloves, a blade of mace, half a nutmeg bruised, a little bundle of sweet herbs, and a large crust of bread. Let these boil an hour pretty fast, then strain it through a sieve, squeezing the turnips through. Wash and cut a bunch of celery very small. Set it on in the liquor over the fire, cover it close, and let it stew. In the meantime, cut the turnips you saved into dice, and 2 or 3 small carrots clean scraped, and cut in little pieces. Put half these turnips and carrots into the pot with the celery, and the other half fry brown in fresh butter. You must flour them first, and 2 or 3 onions peeled, cut in thin slices, and fried brown. Then put them all into the soup, with an ounce of vermicelli. Let your soup boil softly till the celery is quite tender, and your soup is good. Season it with salt to your palate. To make an egg soup. Beat the yolks of 2 eggs in your dish with a piece of butter as big as a hen's egg. Take a tea kettle of boiling water in one hand and a spoon in the other. Pour in about a quart by degrees, then keep stirring it all the time well till the eggs are well mixed and the butter melted. Then pour it into a saucepan and keep stirring it all the time till it begins to simmer. Take it off the fire and pour it between 2 vessels, out of one into the other, till it is quite smooth and has a great froth. Set it on the fire again, keep stirring it till it is quite hot, then pour it into the soup dish and send it to table hot. To make peas porridge. Take a quart of green peas, put to them a quart of water, a bundle of dried mint, and a little salt. Let them boil till the peas are quite tender. Then put in some beaten pepper, a piece of butter as big as a walnut rolled in flour, stir it all together, and let it boil a few minutes. Then add 2 quarts of milk, let it boil a quarter of an hour, take out the mint, and serve it up. To make a white pot. Take 2 quarts of new milk, 8 eggs, and half the whites. Beat up with a little rosewater, a nutmeg, a quarter of a pound of sugar. Cut a penny loaf in very thin slices, and pour your milk and eggs over. Put a little bit of sweet butter on the top. Bake it in a slow oven half an hour. To make a rice white pot. Boil a pound of rice in 2 quarts of new milk till it is tender and thick. Beat it in a mortar with a quarter of a pound of sweet almonds blanched. Then boil 2 quarts of cream with a few crumbs of white bread and 2 or 3 blades of mace. Mix it all with 8 eggs, a little rosewater, and sweeten to your taste. Cut some candied orange and citron peels thin, and lay it in. It must be put into a slow oven. To make rice milk. Take half a pound of rice, boil it in a quart of water with a little cinnamon. Let it boil till the water is all wasted. Take great care it does not burn. Then add 3 pints of milk and the yolk of an egg beat up. Keep it stirring, and when it boils, take it up. Sweeten to your palate. To make an orange fool. Take the juice of 6 oranges and 6 eggs well beaten, a pint of cream, 1/4 pound of sugar, a little cinnamon and nutmeg. Mix all together and keep stirring over a slow fire till it is thick. Then put in a little piece of butter and keep stirring till cold, and dish it up. To make a Westminster fool. Take a penny loaf, cut it into thin slices, wet them with sack, lay them in the bottom of a dish. Take a quart of cream, beat up 6 eggs, 2 spoonfuls of rosewater, a blade of mace, and some grated nutmeg. Sweeten to your taste. Put all this into a saucepan and keep stirring all the time over a slow fire for fear of curdling. When it begins to be thick, pour it into the dish over the bread. Let it stand till it is cold and serve it up. To make a gooseberry fool. Take 2 quarts of gooseberries, set them on the fire in about a quart of water. When they begin to simmer, turn yellow, and begin to plump, throw them into a colander to drain the water out. Then, with the back of a spoon, carefully squeeze the pulp, throw the sieve into a dish, make them pretty sweet, and let them stand till they are cold. In the meantime, take 2 quarts of new milk and the yolks of 4 eggs, beat up with a little grated nutmeg. Stir it softly over a slow fire. When it begins to simmer, take it off, and by degrees stir it into the gooseberries. Let it stand till it is cold, and serve it up. If you make it with cream, you need not put any eggs in, and if it is not thick enough, it is only boiling more gooseberries. But that you must do as you think proper. To make furmity. Take a quart of ready boiled wheat, 2 quarts of milk, 1/4 pound of currants, clean picked and washed. Stir these together and boil them. Beat up the yolks of 3 or 4 eggs, a little nutmeg with 2 or 3 spoonfuls of milk, and add to the wheat. Stir them together for a few minutes. Then sweeten to your palate and send it to table. To make plum porridge or barley gruel. Take a gallon of water, 1/2 pound of barley, 1/4 pound of raisins clean washed, 1/4 pound of currants clean washed and picked. Boil these till above half the water is wasted, with 2 or 3 blades of mace. Then sweeten it to your palate, and add 1/2 pint of white wine. To make buttered wheat. Put your wheat into a saucepan. When it is hot, stir in a good piece of butter, a little grated nutmeg, and sweeten it to your palate. To make plum gruel. Take 2 quarts of water, 2 large spoonfuls of oatmeal, stir it together, a blade or 2 of mace, a little piece of lemon peel. Boil it for 5 or 6 minutes. Take care it do not boil over. Then strain it off and put it into the saucepan again with 1/2 pound of currants clean washed and picked. Let them boil about 10 minutes. Add a glass of white wine, a little grated nutmeg, and sweeten to your palate. To make a flour hasty pudding. Take a quart of milk and 4 bay leaves. Set it on the fire to boil. Beat up the yolks of 2 eggs and stir in a little salt. Take 2 or 3 spoonfuls of milk and beat up with your eggs and stir in your milk. Then, with a wooden spoon in one hand and the flour in the other, stir it in till it is of a good thickness, but not too thick. Let it boil and keep it stirring. Then pour it into a dish and stick pieces of butter here and there. You may omit the egg if you do not like it, but it is a great addition to the pudding. And a little piece of butter stirred in the milk makes it eat short and fine. Take out the bay leaves before you put in the flour. To make an oatmeal hasty pudding. Take a quart of water, set it on to boil, put in a piece of butter and some salt. When it boils, stir in the oatmeal as you do the flour, till it is of a good thickness. Let it boil a few minutes, pour it into your dish, and stick pieces of butter in it, or eat with wine and sugar, or ale and sugar, or cream, or new milk. This is best made with Scotch oatmeal. To make an excellent sack posset. Beat 15 eggs, whites and yolks very well, and strain them. Then put 3/4 pound of white sugar into a pint of canary, and mix it with your eggs in a basin. Set it over a chafing dish of coals, and keep continually stirring it till it is scalding hot. In the meantime, grate some nutmeg in a quart of milk and boil it. Then pour it into your eggs and wine, they being scalding hot. Hold your hand very high as you pour it, and somebody stirring it all the time you are pouring in the milk. Then take it off the chafing dish, set it before the fire half an hour, and serve it up. To make another sack posset. Take a quart of new milk, 4 Naples biscuits, crumble them, and when the milk boils, throw them in. Just give it one boil, take it off, grate in some nutmeg, and sweeten to your palate. Then pour in half a pint of sack, stirring it all the time, and serve it up. You may crumble white bread instead of biscuit. Or make it thus. Boil a quart of cream or new milk with the yolks of 2 eggs. First take a French roll and cut it as thin as possibly you can in little pieces. Lay it in the dish you intend for the posset. When the milk boils, which you must keep stirring all the time, pour it over the bread and stir it together. Cover it close, then take a pint of canary, a 1/4 pound of sugar, and grate in some nutmeg. When it boils, pour it into the milk, stirring it all the time, and serve it up. To make a fine hasty pudding. Break an egg into fine flour, and with your hand work up as much as you can into a stiff paste as is possible. Then mince it as small as herbs to the pot, as small as if it were to be sifted. Then set a quart of milk a-boiling, and put it in the paste so cut. Put in a little salt, a little beaten cinnamon and sugar, a piece of butter as big as a walnut, and stirring all one way. When it is as thick as you would have it, stir in such another piece of butter, then pour it into your dish, and stick pieces of butter here and there. Send it to table hot. To make hasty fritters. Take a stew pan, put in some butter, and let it be hot. In the meantime, take half a pint of all ale, not bitter, and stir in some flour by degrees in a little of the ale. Put in a few currants or chopped apples, beat them up quick, and drop a large spoonful at a time all over the pan. Take care they do not stick together. Turn them with an egg slice, and when they are of a fine brown, lay them in a dish, and throw some sugar over them. Garnish with orange cut into quarters. End of section 19.